Armada Book 1 Chapter 5 Olive Part 4. Back on the bridge, Andrew directed the ship to meet up with General Cook. Alan communicated that he would have to stay a few days longer to wait for reinforcement personnel from Earth and some Macs from other planets that were chosen to go. GX-1 beamed over to the bridge of the USS Alan Cook and met up with the General and comm staff. They were directed to the mission hall where they find all the other GX teams just assembling for their meeting with GX-1. Roden and his staff were already there. Alan started, "Glad to see all of you again. Today I would like to explore our plans on how to deal with the issues at hand. Andrew, you can start." Ellie walked in front of the group and started, "I have given some thought to this problem." "Ellie, I wanted Andrew to talk, not you, if you don't mind." Ellie touched something under her watch and she turned to Roger, then another touch turned her to Andrew. Then GX-1 turned to their original selves but not before turning to somebody else. The crowd said, "Wow," and clapped their hands. "I'm impressed." "Proceed," Alan said. "I call this device the chameleon watch. Now you have no idea if I am still Ellie who turned to Andrew or somebody else. Why don't you turn back to Ellie, she looks smarter and more professional." Billy shouted. The crowd laughed. Andrew did not mind Billy. "I will proceed. As I was saying, I did give this problem much thought and arrived at some basic prerogatives. One is that we have to protect the Macs and the Inkeys. 2, we also have to prevent war between 3 basically the same species. 3, we have to do this with the minimum loss of life from all parties, and 4, foster peace among the 3, if at all possible. Let's be practical for the moment, Andrew, those are good objectives but the last may second not be attainable." Alan commented. "It may look hard but it may be easier than we might see. Ellie, please. One of the most important advantages we have over the Furlets and Intis is that both never got around to learning cloaking and the TP technology. The TP technology was invented some 580,000 years ago by the Inkeys with some help from the Maccabees and the Macs. Before they went to war with the Furlets, the technology underwent faster development than before and was almost as in the level as we see now. The cloaking technology was primarily credited to the Maccabees and the Macs, and this was put into work around 500,000 years ago before the Maccabees started to leave the galaxy. It was a natural progression for them to integrate both technologies to make it work better. Before the Maccabees left, they realized they can beam faster and further, more accurately, and with less power requirement if the out-of-phase subjects were wrapped in a time bubble twice and then thrice and then beamed out. It was a good thing they never were able to share this technology to the Furlets and the Intis. There were, however, industrial spying done by the Furlets and Intis to get some of this technology out. But as I have also found out, this is not something you can just learn. It requires so much hardware, technology, and technical understanding. The basic threat of the 2 monster ships would have to be dealt with simultaneously with some activities. One of which is to seed the planets taken over by the Intis with diseases in consecutive fashion. Another is to substitute their leadership with our own Mac personnel using the chameleon bands. Another is to hijack the Furlet ship by appearing and posing as Intis to make the Furlet realize they were double-crossed by the Intis. The Inti ship on the other hand will have Furlet ship jacked and blown up. The Intis who hijacked the ship will also blow it up." Roger said. Eric stood. "It is our hope that once the Furlet realizes their alliance is done and their monster ship gone, they will reconsider the war they want to undertake. And because the Intis are further out than the Inkeys, they would have less motivation to attack the Intis and instead attack the Inkeys. But since they believe they cannot do it alone, then they would rather stop. The same logic would befell the Intis. We would have to plant and reinforce this logic by having our Macs pose in as their leaders to counter any plans otherwise. Now one of the tricky objectives is to free the 6 planets and transport the Intis back to their home planets. After several months of sickness, they will lose hold on their Inkey captives and we must quickly start helping them out of the planets and try to prevent occasions for personal retributions." Andrew said. "How do you transport these people en masse without creating a security issue?" Bills asked. "We can put them to sleep. When they wake up they will be in the Inti planets." Ellie continued, "You are talking about millions. We've done this before. But Andrew, you do know they have attack Vintas and Jintas." Alan said. "We would be operating cloaked at all times. We can beam in our people to place charges on the engines of these ships and simultaneously blow them up when we steal the monster ship. The same modus operandi would be done with the Intis. Again, to be consistent, we can decloak as Intis or Furlets in time for the other side to see their enemies doing the dirty deeds. Part of the plan is to blow up their communication structures as a show of force and to weaken their control of the battlefield." "How do you steal a ship with thousands of people working in it?" Roden asked. Roger responded, "We tag them and beam them into holding areas. This is a preventive way for Furlets or Intis not to attack their ships because we have hostages. We beam the prisoners out before we blow the monster ships. I am impressed. How long will these take to implement? General Cook, the training of our personnel would take a week or more, during which time we would be traveling to the target sites. General Mann's ship will be in the Inti arena to plant the Max while General Cook will go to the Furlet arena to take care of work there. The planted spies would take a bit of time to set themselves in place. This is okay since we need field intel anyway to factor into the general plan. The plans will take months to mature, maybe 3 months to mature, and end with hopefully an offer of peace from the Intkis. Eric explained. In the meantime I can go to my home world and draw up support. Roden said. Roden, we also have plans to plant Max spies in your world to look for spies in your structure. You see, the Furlets needed internal info to hijack a ship to hit your ships, and not a very reliable info at that. What I would like to see is that with the help of our planted leaders and spies, the Intis and Furlet see or are convinced that they would be far outgunned and see that it would be in their best interest to sue for peace. Andrew explained. How do you know who to spy on in the Inki world? Very easy, General. Those without Max on their staff or inner circle are potential targets. Eric said. Eric is right, it will be many months to prepare but will be carried out in a day or so. Secrecy is very important and we may have to produce some ruses to confuse the enemy and have the enemy believe the Intkis are doing something else. A show of power and might would be good PR. Ellie said. Roden, we also need 2 ships to assist the USS Alan Cook and the USS Andrew Mann. One of the ships is needed as a base station for the 6 planets. The other ship assigned to General Cook will also act as a base station while the General moves around the Furlet home galaxies. Eric said. What's that, Andrew? You have a ship with your name also? It was Ellie's idea. It was an honor to contribute the ship for the mission. I would agree with Andrew that it was Major Rivers' idea in naming the ship as such. Roden said. I don't buy that one bit. Billy complained. Look, Billy, you can name the next ship we get under your name as well for all I care. Everybody was laughing at the exchange. Roden conferred with his staff. I like the plan and we will do our best to support it. Thank you, Roden. Just remember, secrecy is key. Then he turned into an Ellie image, and the people in the room laughed. This is the perfect Joker's toy you have here. Billy said. Andrew turned back to himself. Roden, the bigger job rests on your leaders to reach out to your enemies who you can easily crush and graciously offer peace. According to the book, we should make an example and destroy the enemy as a show of force. Roden said. You can do that, but remember the purpose of that action is to convince the enemy you mean business. There are other means of accomplishing the same thing. The truly rich does not flaunt his riches. If you are rich and still flaunt, then you're insecure. We are not insecure. Take it from the Max. Do you have another book for these? A book of clowns. Billy said, and everybody laughed. Roden, it is also in the book, just read it well. Ellie said. There's so many plays in this game and it's very complex. A little hitch will set us back. Alan said. Billy agreed, that is true, Alan, but that is what we do. We make things happen. Okay, my science officer, Nissel has something to present the group. Alan said and gestured to Nissel. During our extended time replenishing personnel and supplies, Captain Perek and Captain Bott and I were working on a very large and extended version of the plasma cannon and realized that given proper length and size we can propel the plasma at great distances. And the plasma shot can be made longer and bigger, giving it more kick on impact. Our future plan for this would be to infuse metallic hydrogen with the metal carbon core of the plasma. This is a simulation of the prototype, and as you can see, we can install the plasma cannons in various cities in different occupied Inki planets, and these can shoot the plasma into outer space and hit the ships in space as long as they are within 1 million kilometers, although the weapon is only accurate within 500,000 kilometers. We investigated the Inki production capabilities and they can produce a sizable number of these weapons in less than 3 months. We do not think this will be in time for the blowing up of the monster ships, but it will be in time to be installed in the freed planets so no Inti can get near it again. The caveat is that it needs a lot of power and all would have to have the highest form of secrecy applied. General Cook, your team has continuously impressed me. Not only are you training us, returning our lost planets back to us, now you are providing us with the technology to defend our planets. The 6 planets are all the world to me, and with this defensive weapon, we will be assured of peace for a long time. I will try to produce thousands of these for our outlying planets and for the 6 planets we would be getting back. Roden, remember, produce them in secret. Andrew said. You also need to produce some ship plasma cannons for your ships. These are smaller and easier to produce but would take some time installing in your ships. This will definitely up your game. Ellie added. Again, Roden secrecy is important. Andrew repeated. As Ellie said, we need to give them a show of power. If you have these on your ships, you could be very effective in dealing with your enemies. Alan said. We can produce a few by then and install in a few Vintas. So we get to blow up some to show our new weapons. Roden said. I guess you could be right this time. But make sure you do it with the minimum loss of lives. Andrew said. We can reduce the Inti casualties by beaming them to a holding planet nearby. This way you can show extreme aggression in your attack knowing the ships have less crew. Eric said. 2 weeks later. Andrew appeared as a hologram. General Cook, we are approaching the target planets in 5 minutes. Roden and his staff have beamed to their home base in a flyby we did more than an hour ago. Captain Perek and Captain Bot together with a science contingent have gone with Roden's party. We have also deployed the 1,400 Max spies on Roden's home world. Alan nods to Andrew who was sitting on the captain's chair at the bridge of USS Andrew Man. We also took in some of their senior military personnel as part of their training exercise. Ellie said. Okay Andrew, it's show time then. We have deployed our Max spies and taggers on the monster ship. We will be beaming down several hundred Max spies on the planets and have them establish themselves as ferlets. Alan said. Today we have completed 1,200 probes laden with the itch virus. We can start beaming 200 of these into the atmosphere and detonate when the weather is good. Ellie said. Andrew, we have linked with the Inki Max Collective and they are happy, very happy. I have apprised them of our plans and a lot of them have volunteered. Some have experience dealing with the Intis in the captured planets. Would you like me to get them for you Andrew? Gadden asked. That's not a bad idea. Make sure to give them training, let them observe from our ship first before they get deployed with a senior spy. I don't like over-enthusiasm to throw water at our brew. Andrew, we are ready to deploy our Max spies dressed as Intis and the cloaked Mac taggers are all set to go. Billy offered. Where's Olive? Olive, I want you here beside me. I am here Andrew. We have arrived at the target planet. Deploy our spies and taggers please, Billy. Ellie, beam the probes now and deploy as soon as the best weather conditions have come. We will be done in 4 hours Andrew. The weather will be right for the itch in 2 hours. GX2 will go down and make sure the next teams are all prepared. Billy said. It took the USS Andrew Man 2 days to deploy the teams into the 6 planets. During this time, the extra ship arrived at the Ferlit target planet and General Bill Guzman took over the ship as its commander. The Inki Field Marshal Rexton acted as his first officer. All the Max support teams needed, a quarter of the Marines and most of the taggers also moved to the new ship. Andrew, you know this ship is bigger than yours and new too. Billy said. Okay Billy, I know you are dying to name her. May I suggest USS Bill Guzman? It is appropriate to name the ship in your name sir. Rexton said. Don't sir me Rexton. Just call me Billy. We are honored to serve under the command of the people who saved our first marshal. Olive, set a course to the Inti home world. We have a monster ship to blow up. After 2 days, they reached the nearest solar system of the Inti galaxy. Andrew, we have located the Binto. It will be on screen in 2 minutes. Olive said. Don't call her Binto, monster ship is better. It makes us look good. General Man, I will go with the German contingent while Roger will take over the Japanese contingent. We will deploy in both ends of the monster ship and start tagging people and planting bombs. We will notify you if it is safe for the Max spies to board according to plan. Eric said. Are you confident these guys can handle the job? Andrew asked. Generalmann, I am confident. These people are very experienced and actually were named in the list the Max provided. Roger answered. I saw them during their training on board the ship since we left Earth orbit. I believe they're good people. Eric said and he and Roger left the bridge. The collective have given us some understanding of the Inti galaxy. Their main home world is that planet nearest to the monster ship. We can deploy our spies there. Gadden said. Deploy as soon as Eric and Roger leave. I want those spies back on the ship every 2 days, 3 days max, then redeploy. I want the taggers to come home to roost every day. Andrew said.